The bull knelt before her, and the miracle surprised even the farmer. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment where you're watching this video from. Tom Henderson wiped the sweat from his weathered face as he watched his 5-year-old granddaughter Lily navigate her wheelchair across the dusty yard of their cattle station in rural Queensland. The midday sun beat down mercilessly on the red earth, but the little girl didn't seem to notice. Her attention was fixed entirely on the massive Brahman bull standing in the nearby paddock, his white coat gleaming in the harsh Australian light. "Careful, love," Tom called out, his voice carrying that distinctive Australian drawl. "That's Thunder. He's not a pet. He's 2 tons of muscle and temper." But Lily wasn't listening. She'd been fascinated by the bulls since she'd come to live with Tom and his wife Margaret 6 months ago, after the accident that had taken her parents and left her paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors said she'd never walk again. The psychiatrists said she'd barely spoken since that terrible night on the highway outside Brisbane. But here, on the station, something in her eyes had begun to change. Thunder was the station's prize breeding bull, brought in from a champion bloodline up north. He was magnificent, with a prominent hump, long curved horns, and a disposition that made even the most experienced stockmen wary. Tom had paid a fortune for him, hoping to improve his herd, but Thunder had proven difficult, aggressive with the other cattle, and downright dangerous around people. "Grandpa, why is he sad?" Lily's voice, small and clear, cut through the hot air. Tom's heart clenched. It was the first question she'd asked in weeks. He walked over to her wheelchair, placing a weathered hand on her thin shoulder. "What makes you think he's sad, little one?" His eyes, they looked like mine did, before I came here. Tom looked at Thunder properly for the first time in days. The bull stood alone in his paddock, separated from the main herd. His head hung lower than usual, and there was indeed something in those dark eyes, isolation, loneliness, perhaps even despair. "He's away from the other cattle because he fights with them," Tom explained. "He doesn't know how to get along with others. We keep him separate for everyone's safety. That's why he's sad. He's alone." "Like I was." Before Tom could respond, Lily maneuvered her wheelchair closer to the fence. Thunder's head lifted, his nostrils flaring. Tom tensed, ready to pull Lily back. But something extraordinary happened. The massive bull took a step towards the fence, then another, until he stood directly opposite the tiny girl in her wheelchair. "Lily, back away now," Tom said firmly, fear creeping into his voice. But Lily extended her small hand through the fence rails, palm open. Thunder lowered his enormous head, his hot breath washing over her arm. Then, impossibly, the aggressive bull that had charged at 3 experienced stockmen just last week gently nuzzled her palm. "He's not sad now," Lily whispered. "He just needed someone to understand. That was the beginning." Over the following weeks, Lily spent hours by Thunder's paddock. Tom and Margaret watched in amazement as their traumatized granddaughter and the aggressive bull formed an impossible bond. Lily talked to Thunder, really talked, more than she'd spoken since the accident. She told him about her mum and dad, about the fear she felt, about the nightmares that woke her screaming every night. And Thunder listened. The great bull would stand at the fence whenever Lily appeared, lowering his head so she could stroke his face, making soft sounds in his throat that Tom had never heard from any bull in his 40 years of farming. The aggression disappeared. When Lily was near, Thunder was gentle as a lamb. "Oh, it's bloody unnatural," Tom muttered to Margaret one evening as they watched Lily feeding Thunder carrots through the fence. "Bulls don't act like that, especially not Thunder." "Maybe that's the point, love," Margaret replied, her eyes moist. "Maybe they both needed something unnatural to heal. That child was dying inside." Now look at her. It was true. Lily laughed now. She ate properly. The nightmares had lessened, and every morning the first thing she asked was whether she could visit Thunder. The physiotherapist who came weekly from Toowoomba noticed the change too. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it," she told Tom and Margaret. "I've seen trauma cases before, but never one recovering this quickly. She's got a reason to engage with the world again." Then came the day that changed everything. It was a scorching January afternoon, the kind where the air shimmers and even the flies are too hot to bother moving. Tom was in the equipment shed, trying to fix the stubborn water pump that had given up the ghost that morning. Margaret had driven into town for supplies. Lily had begged to stay home, promising to stay in the shade of the veranda. But Lily, with the determination of a 5-year-old, had other plans. She'd maneuvered her wheelchair down the ramp Tom had built, across the yard, and right up to Thunder's paddock gate. She'd watched Tom open it dozens of times. She knew how the latch worked. The gate swung open. Lily wheeled herself through the open gate into Thunder's paddock. The massive bull turned immediately, recognizing her presence. He walked towards her, each step deliberate and careful. When he reached her, he lowered his head as he always did, and Lily stroked the white fur between his horns. "I wanted to be closer to you," she told him, "without the fence between us." Thunder made that soft rumbling sound deep in his chest. Then he did something that would later make Tom question everything he thought he knew about animals. The bull's front legs buckled, and slowly, impossibly, he knelt before her. Not in submission, not in weakness, but as if offering himself as something more than a beast, as if he understood that this tiny, broken girl needed something miraculous. Lily laughed, a sound of pure joy that carried across the empty paddock. She leaned forward in her wheelchair, wrapping her small arms around Thunder's massive neck. The bull remained perfectly still, his eyes half closed, accepting her embrace with a gentleness that defied his nature. That's where Tom found them 10 minutes later. He'd come out of the shed for a drink, noticed the empty veranda, felt the cold spike of panic. He'd run towards Thunder's paddock and stopped dead at the sight before him. His 5-year-old granddaughter, alone in a paddock with a 2-ton bull that had hospitalized a stockman just 2 months ago, and the bull was kneeling before her like some ancient guardian. "Lily," Tom called out, forcing his voice to stay calm. "Don't move, sweetheart. Grandpa's coming to get you." "It's okay, Grandpa." Lily called back. "Thunder won't hurt me. He never would. He loves me." Tom approached slowly, every muscle tensed, ready to throw himself between Lily and danger. But Thunder didn't move aggressively. He turned his head slightly, acknowledged Tom's presence, then looked back at Lily as if to say, "I'm protecting what's precious." Tom reached them, his heart hammering. He started to lift Lily from her wheelchair, but she resisted. "Wait, Grandpa. Thunder wants to show us something. Lily, we need to get you out of here now. Please, just watch." Thunder rose slowly from his kneeling position. Then he turned, positioning himself alongside Lily's wheelchair. He stood perfectly still, his body a solid wall of muscle next to the small girl. Then, incredibly, he took a step forward, just one, and stopped, as if waiting. "He wants me to come with him," Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. "That's enough adventure for one day," Tom said firmly, lifting Lily despite her protests. He carried her out of the paddock, closed the gate, and stood there shaking, adrenaline still flooding his system. "You can never, ever do that again," he told her, his voice stern but trembling. "Do you understand? Thunder might be gentle with you now, but he's still a wild animal. He could hurt you without meaning to. But he wouldn't, Grandpa. He was trying to help me." That evening, after Margaret had returned and they'd explained what happened, Tom stood at the kitchen window, staring out at Thunder's paddock. The bull stood at the fence, looking towards the house, as if waiting for Lily to return. "She said he was trying to help her," Tom said to Margaret. "What did she mean?" "Maybe we should ask Dr. Chen," Margaret suggested. "She's coming tomorrow for Lily's session anyway." Dr. Chen, the physiotherapist, arrived the next afternoon as scheduled. After working with Lily on her exercises, she sat down with Tom and Margaret, her expression thoughtful. "I want to try something," she said, "but you'll think I'm mad." "After yesterday, nothing seems mad anymore," Tom replied. Dr. Chen explained her idea, hippotherapy, she called it. Therapeutic horseback riding for people with disabilities. It had shown remarkable results for children with paralysis, helping with muscle tone, balance, core strength. But more than that, it gave children a sense of independence and possibility that traditional therapy often couldn't. "But we don't have horses," Margaret pointed out. "We're a cattle station." "I know, but you have something potentially better. You have a bull who has already formed a bond with Lily, a bull who, if what you've told me is accurate, has already demonstrated an almost supernatural gentleness with her." "You want to put my paralyzed 5-year-old granddaughter on the back of a breeding bull," Tom said flatly. "Have you lost your mind?" "I want to give Lily a chance," Dr. Chen replied. "Look at the progress she's made emotionally since connecting with Thunder. Imagine what might happen if we could use that connection for physical therapy too. The movement of riding, even just sitting on a large animal, stimulates muscles and neural pathways that traditional therapy can't reach as effectively." Tom wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed at him to say no. But he looked at Lily, sitting in her wheelchair by the window, staring out at Thunder's paddock with such longing in her eyes, and he found himself considering the impossible. Over the next week, they prepared. Dr. Chen brought in a specialist who worked with therapy animals. They assessed Thunder's temperament, his movement, his responses. The specialist, a no-nonsense woman named Jackie from Townsville, was skeptical at first. "Bulls aren't horses," she said bluntly. "They're not bred for riding. They're not trained for human interaction. This could be disastrous." But after spending 2 hours observing Thunder with Lily through the fence, watching how the bull responded to her voice, her touch, her presence, Jackie's skepticism softened. "I've never seen anything like this," she admitted. "It's as if he knows she's fragile, as if he's consciously being careful, but we'll need to do this in stages, very carefully, and at the first sign of trouble, we stop immediately." They started with just getting Lily closer to Thunder while he was in a controlled position. They built a mounting platform in his paddock with rails for support. The first few sessions, Thunder simply stood beside the platform while Lily sat on it, getting used to his height, his presence, his warmth. Thunder stood like a statue, his breathing slow and steady, while Lily reached out to touch his back. Tom watched from the rails, his knuckles white from gripping the fence, ready to vault over at the slightest sign of danger. But Thunder remained perfectly calm, occasionally turning his head slightly to check on Lily, as if reassuring himself she was comfortable. On the third session, Dr. Chen and Jackie decided it was time. They'd fashioned a special mounting system with thick padding and support handles. Tom and Margaret stood ready, along with 2 stockmen who'd volunteered despite thinking the whole exercise was balmy. Jackie had prepared sedatives, just in case, though she admitted she doubted they'd be needed. "Right then," Jackie said, her voice steady despite her obvious nervousness. "Lily, sweetheart, we're going to lift you very gently onto Thunder's back. Your grandpa and I will be right here holding you. Thunder knows you're coming. He's ready to be your friend and helper. Are you ready?" Lily nodded, her small face serious with determination. Tom lifted her from her wheelchair, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. Dr. Chen guided them, positioning Lily carefully on the padded support they'd secured to Thunder's broad back. The bull felt Lily's weight settle onto him and turned his head all the way around, his dark eyes locking onto hers. Then he made that soft rumbling sound and faced forward again. "Good boy, Thunder," Lily whispered. "Good, good boy." For 5 minutes, they simply stood there. Thunder remained motionless while Lily adjusted to the sensation of being so high up, of feeling the warmth and power of the massive animal beneath her. Tom kept one hand on her back, ready to grab her at the slightest movement, but Thunder stood as if his legs had grown roots. "How does it feel, love?" Margaret called from the fence, tears streaming down her weathered face. "I can feel him breathing," Lily said, wonder in her voice. "I can feel his heart beating." "Grandma, I can feel it." The significance wasn't lost on anyone. Lily, who couldn't feel her own legs, could feel life pulsing beneath her. It was connection. It was hope. It was something none of them had words for. Over the following weeks, they progressed slowly. Thunder learned to walk while Lily rode, his steps measured and careful, nothing like his usual powerful gait. He moved as if carrying the most precious cargo in the world, and perhaps, in his own way, he knew he was. Dr. Chen guided the sessions, watching Lily's muscle responses, her core engagement, her balance. "This is extraordinary," she told Tom after the 10th session. "Lily's core muscles are strengthening, her posture is improving. The movement of riding Thunder is doing exactly what I'd hoped, but faster than I expected. It's as if Thunder knows how to move, to maximize the therapeutic benefit." But something else was happening, something that Dr. Chen couldn't explain medically. Lily had begun to feel tingles in her legs. Nothing definitive, nothing the doctors at the hospital could verify on their tests. But Lily insisted she felt something, a warmth, a distant sensation, like pins and needles. "It's probably phantom sensations," the spinal specialist explained when they took Lily to Brisbane for evaluation. "Common in patients with her type of injury. The brain creates feelings that aren't really there." But Lily knew better, and so did Thunder. During one session, about 2 months after they'd started, something remarkable happened. Lily was sitting on Thunder, Tom walking beside them, when she suddenly gasped, "Grandpa, stop!" Tom immediately signaled Thunder, who halted instantly. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Are you hurt?" "My toes." I felt my toes. I wiggled them. Tom looked down at Lily's feet, secured in the supports they'd made. He saw nothing, no movement, but Lily's face was radiant with certainty. "I did, Grandpa. I know I did. Thunder felt it too." "Didn't you, Thunder?" The bull turned his head, looking at Lily with those impossibly intelligent eyes, and made a sound that was almost like agreement. That night, Tom sat up with Margaret, both of them nursing cups of tea neither really wanted. "Do we dare hope?" Margaret whispered. "The doctors were so certain. They said the damage was permanent." "I don't know what to think anymore," Tom admitted. 6 months ago, I would have said a bull kneeling before a child was impossible. A bull being gentler than a trained therapy horse was impossible, but I've seen both with my own eyes. Maybe impossible doesn't mean what I thought it meant. 3 months into the therapy, Lily's medical team in Brisbane noticed changes they couldn't explain. Muscle tone in her legs had improved significantly. There were unexpected neural responses in tests, nothing that suggested she'd walk again, they cautioned, but remarkable nonetheless. "Whatever you're doing," the physical therapist said, "keep doing it. We're seeing results we typically don't see until years of intensive therapy, if at all." But it was on a warm autumn morning that the real miracle happened. Tom had led Thunder to the mounting platform as usual. Lily was already positioned, excited as always. They'd been riding for about 20 minutes when Lily suddenly started crying. "Lily, what's wrong?" Tom reached up to her immediately. "Nothing's wrong, Grandpa. Everything's right. My legs hurt. They hurt so much." Tom's blood ran cold. "Where, sweetheart? Show me. My calves, my feet, they're cramping." "Grandpa, pain means feeling. The doctor said if I ever felt pain in my legs again, it would mean the nerves were healing." Tom's hands shook as he carefully helped Lily down from Thunder. The bull stood perfectly still, but there was something different in his posture, in his eyes. It was almost like pride. Dr. Chen was called immediately. She arrived within the hour and conducted tests right there in the paddock, with Thunder watching from nearby. "I'm seeing responses," Dr. Chen said, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "Definite responses to stimuli. Lily, can you try to move your right foot for me?" Lily's face scrunched with concentration. Her foot, encased in its support brace, trembled, just the slightest movement, but it was there. Voluntary movement. Impossible movement. Sweet Jesus, Tom breathed. Dr. Chen looked up at Tom, tears in her eyes. I've been a physiotherapist for 20 years. I've worked with hundreds of spinal injury patients. This shouldn't be happening. The medical term is spontaneous neural recovery, but it's incredibly rare, especially this extensive. But I've never heard of it happening like this quickly, with this type of injury. She looked over at Thunder, who stood watching the entire scene with those knowing eyes. That bull, he's not just carrying her. I don't know how, but he's part of this healing. The way he moves, the vibrations, the connection. It's reaching something in Lily that our therapy couldn't touch. The news spread through the small rural community like wildfire. The little girl who couldn't walk was moving her toes. The aggressive bull had become a healer. People drove from neighboring stations to see it with their own eyes. Tom had to start turning away reporters from Brisbane who wanted to film the miracle bull. He protected Lily's privacy fiercely, allowing only her medical team and a few trusted friends to witness her sessions with Thunder. Over the next 4 months, the progress was steady and undeniable. Lily graduated from small toe movements to flexing her ankles, then to bending her knees. The specialists in Brisbane were baffled. They'd reviewed her case a dozen times, consulted with international experts. The original injury should have prevented any recovery. Yet here she was, defying every medical expectation. There's no scientific explanation I can offer, the chief neurologist admitted during one visit to the station. The scans show neural pathways regenerating that should be impossible. It's as if her spinal cord is rewiring itself. I've documented everything, but I know my colleagues won't believe it. But Tom and Margaret knew what the doctors couldn't accept. It wasn't just physical therapy, it was love. It was connection. It was a bond between a broken child and a misunderstood animal that had found purpose in each other. Thunder wasn't just carrying Lily. He was giving her a reason to heal, a partnership that made her fight harder than any medical treatment could inspire. Jackie, the animal behavior specialist, visited regularly to monitor Thunder. She'd become fascinated by the bull's behavior, taking extensive notes, filming his interactions with Lily. I'm writing a paper about this, she told Tom one afternoon, but I know it'll be dismissed as anthropomorphism or exaggeration. No one will believe that a bull could be this attuned to a human's needs, that he could modulate his movement, his behavior, his very nature to facilitate healing. But I've seen it. We've all seen it. 6 months after Lily first rode Thunder, on a bright October morning with magpies singing in the gum trees, the impossible happened. Tom had helped Lily onto Thunder as usual. They'd completed their 20-minute session, and Tom was preparing to help her down when Lily said something that stopped his heart. "Grandpa, I want to try something. Don't help me down. Let me try by myself." "Lily, you'll fall. You can't support your own weight yet." "I think I can. Thunder thinks I can too, don't you, Thunder?" The bull made that soft, rumbling sound and carefully knelt, just as he had that first day. Slowly, impossibly slowly, he lowered himself until his belly touched the ground. He'd never done this before. No one had trained him. But somehow, he knew what Lily needed. With Thunder lying down, the distance to the ground was manageable. Lily swung her right leg over, Tom's hands hovering ready to catch her. She positioned both feet on the ground, her hands gripping Thunder's back. Then, with a determination that brought tears to every witness's eyes, she pushed herself up. Her legs trembled violently, her face contorted with effort, but she stood. Supported by her grip on Thunder, with Tom ready to grab her, Lily stood on her own 2 feet for the first time in 18 months. "I'm standing," she whispered. Then louder, joy exploding through her voice. "I'm standing. "Grandpa, I'm standing!" Tom grabbed her as her legs gave out, but it didn't matter. She'd stood. She'd borne her own weight. The impossible had happened. Margaret came running from the house, having heard Lily's shout. Dr. Chen, who'd been documenting the session, had dropped her camera and was openly weeping. The two stockmen who'd volunteered to help stood in stunned silence. And Thunder, the aggressive bull that no one could handle, remained perfectly still on the ground until Tom had Lily safely supported. Only then did he rise, turning to face the girl who'd saved him as much as he'd saved her. Over the following weeks, Lily's standing time increased. 1 minute became 2, then 5, then 10. She began taking supported steps, holding on to rails Tom had built. Thunder watched every session from his paddock, and on the days when Lily was discouraged, when the pain was too much or progress seemed too slow, Tom would bring her to sit with Thunder. The bull would lower his head, let her wrap her arms around his neck, and somehow give her the strength to try again. On Lily's 6th birthday, 11 months after she'd first ridden Thunder, the entire community gathered at the Henderson station for a celebration that had been planned for weeks. The cake was spectacular, the presents generous, but everyone was waiting for something else. Something Lily had been practicing in secret with Tom and Margaret. As the sun began to set, painting the Queensland sky in brilliant oranges and reds, Lily stood from her wheelchair. Tom stood beside her, ready to catch her, but he didn't help. With the entire community watching in breathless silence, Lily took one step, then another, then another. 10 steps total, from her wheelchair to where Thunder stood at the paddock fence, his head lowered, waiting for her. She reached him and wrapped her arms around his neck, and Thunder made that sound, that soft rumbling that everyone now knew meant contentment. Love, pride. "Thank you," she whispered to him. "Thank you for not giving up on me." The crowd erupted. People were crying, cheering, hugging each other. The local newspaper photographer, who'd been invited specifically for this moment, captured it all. But the photo that would eventually travel around the world, that would be picked up by news agencies internationally, was a simple one. A small girl, standing on her own 2 feet, arms wrapped around the neck of a massive white bull, both of them seeming to glow in the golden light of sunset. The medical community remained skeptical, of course. They published papers about spontaneous neural recovery, about the benefits of animal-assisted therapy, about the psychological factors in healing. They used words like remarkable and unusual and fascinating case study, but they couldn't explain it, not really. They couldn't quantify the power of love, of connection, of two broken souls finding wholeness in each other. Thunder lived for another 12 years, becoming something of a legend in rural Queensland. He never regained his aggression. He became gentle with all the cattle, a calming presence in the herd, but he remained special with Lily. Even when she was 17, home from boarding school for holidays, walking perfectly normally with only the slightest limp, Thunder would still kneel for her, still lower his head for her embrace, still make that soft rumbling sound that meant she was safe, she was loved, she was home. When Thunder finally passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 14, Lily was 19 and studying veterinary medicine at university. She came home immediately. They buried him in the paddock where he'd first knelt before her, where the miracle had begun. Tom carved a simple headstone from local stone, Thunder, the bull who taught us that love heals what medicine cannot. Years later, Dr. Lily Henderson would become one of Australia's leading experts in animal-assisted therapy. She'd write papers, give lectures, open a clinic specifically for children with spinal injuries. She'd help hundreds of children find their own versions of Thunder, their own pathways to healing. But she never forgot the massive white bull who'd knelt before a broken child and somehow, impossibly, given her back her life. The bull had knelt before her, and the miracle had surprised even the farmer. But the real miracle, Tom would later say, wasn't the healing itself. It was the reminder that sometimes the most broken among us, whether child or beast, are exactly who we need to become whole again. That healing isn't always found in hospitals and medicine, but in connection, in purpose, in the inexplicable bond between souls who recognize something true in each other. Thunder hadn't just helped Lily walk again. He'd taught an entire community that miracles are real. They're just usually quieter and stranger and more beautiful than we ever imagined they could be.